30.
I'll show
Everybody signed in now?
No.
Got a
Right,
signature?
pass it around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Opening of the meeting. Do we have a privilege of the floor? Okay. Where I go any farther, son, come up here and sign in.
We should know who it is.
Oh, yeah,
It's
well,
WBNG,
as soon as I get his name.
WBNG. Yep. Yeah.
You know everybody, don't you?
Yeah, I see him on TV.
Oh.
Josh Rosenblatt, right?
This is a pile.
No request for the privilege of the floor. I'm going to go into the agenda topics for this meeting. Labs, supervisor, QA, QC services.
You should have in your hands a legal ad that will be for the professional technical service of the laboratory certification and consulting services. This is currently being performed for us by Worth Environmental. And until we can get our own internal lab manager certified, we will have 1 year in on November 10th. So I have proposed that the service period for this be from the expiration of the current contract, which is July 15th, 2019, through September 8th, or I'm sorry, through November 18th, 2019, which is 18 weeks. And then at the board's option, you can extend it for 2 additional 4-week periods, with a total 8 weeks. That's in case, sure, you know, EPA may not move as quickly as we would like to do the certification here. I would encourage the board to approve this. I do have.
What was the correction on 5.2.3?
It should say, instead of
It says digester systems, it should say.
I changed that to wastewater laboratory analysis.
That makes more sense. I make a motion that we adopt the request for qualifications and proposals for professional technical services for laboratory certification and consulting services, and authorize and direct the publication of the legal advertisement that was handed out to us today for this solicitation.
Second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried 4-1-1.
Was there some question?
4-0-1.
Getting this into the public?
Nobody voted.
We're good.
Yeah.
4-0.
As long as we get in before I go home tonight.
Yeah, I didn't.
The second one.
You don't have to admit that.
Second one is outside lab services. This is currently performed for us by Pace Environmental, and your contract ends July 31st. So I would say this period will be August 1st, 2019 through July 31st, 2020. We did incorporate a penalty structure into the current plan. Last I had heard, there was some crunch for regional labs because Microvac had a fire and Pace was a little slow in responding. So we're trying to build a little expediency in and give us a little bit of a stick if they do return the sample slowly. It hasn't been a tremendous problem, but it could cause complications if we can't do our reporting on a timely basis.
Did you see my note about page 7, that redundant language?
Yes.
And that's been removed. Okay. I'd make a motion that we approve the request for qualifications, request for proposal for professional technical services for sampling and analytical services, and authorize and direct the business manager designee to insert the legal ad that's been distributed to us in the newspaper record, the state contractor's order, etc., as soon as possible.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried 4-0-1. How's that?
And the third item we have an actuarial valuation which establishes the minimum amount we should have recognized on our financials to cover health benefits for employees. Excuse me. Jefferson Solutions provided that. They've done a couple revisions. We've had some recent ones, and I think at this point, I believe it's in a ready to be finalized.
They already lost it. Okay.
You gotta put your name on it so we know.
Like a piece, put the guard on it.
It's like a Mexican jumping game.
So I would encourage the board to approve. I did forward, it had some changes that you had just sent, and I forwarded them to Ray.
Do we need this at the present time?
We will need it for the EFPR group's final audit.
Okay, do we have enough money in the budget for it?
They won't.
It doesn't affect the budget. It's a long range projection of, and with the corrections that were made, I think it's worth noting that the long-term actuarial liability was reduced by about $1.8 million, which is significant because they were using the wrong rates on the insurance.
And you said that.
That's the issue I've been fighting.
Yeah.
So it was worth making sure that that got addressed.
So did we get a refund for it?
Yeah, they had a lump sum.
20
fee.
years from now.
I think they had a lump sum fee.
Yeah.
Certainly it.
Yeah, it is 29.
I don't think any of those items that I pointed out are significant, but they've got to do the math and decide they're the actuaries. They were off by less than $1 on two of the rates. That's just a typo. They had 62 instead of a 92, which is the correct rate.
This isn't a question of
Another one they had
question of moving funds within the financial.
Another one they had 84 cents instead of, they had 24 cents and the correct rate was 84 cents.
Does this affect our budgeting process?
No.
This is all a theoretical study.
It's a good policy. Mr. DiNapoli, or the state says that an employer of any type has to have sufficient money set aside to cover any eventuality. So it's not a bad program.
I've taken exception. If it had-
Well, yeah.
Did he say that to New York State too? Having enough money to pay all the bills?
Well, I'm there.
He's a clever man.
They're factoring it out so far that the people that are working now that aren't going to retire for another 10 years are included in the total down the road, and it makes no sense now. It just inflates what looks like to be our budget or what we need on hand, and it's
down the road. It shouldn't even be counted at your yearly budget. But
that's the way they want to do things.
Well, it's these pinheads in the Financial Accounting Standards Board that come up with this requirement when they brought in, first it was called GASB 45, and now we're supposed to go to GASB 75 as of January 1st, 2018. It's retroactive.
The exception I've taken in the past is that it makes the employee liability look to be so much larger than it actually is.
Right. Yeah.
The worst case.
Right.
And this is the other than pension employee benefits piece of it.
Right.
The pension has its own,
Right. That I have to.
hair raising numbers. So, the question that I have on this before I make a motion is, do we know the answer to, do we need to adopt GASB 75 before we approve this report? Is there a cart before the horse, or?
I don't think, we have our single audit group that we charge to keep us compliant with all GASB requirements. So I don't think whether the board ratifies it or not will make a significant impact on the outcome.
But I think we have to, though, at some point.
I don't think they would repeal it if the board didn't.
There's still
Nobody's waiting for the board to ratify. It doesn't hurt for the board to ratify GASB 75, but the other 91 GASBs somehow got passed this and they're still in effect. So I don't think it's necessary.
For my fellow board members, I'd like them to at least see the document. So
if you want to wait until you see.
No, I mean, we need to do this. They need to get that wrapped up because the auditors do need this. So I'm just going to make a motion that, subject to further action with respect to adoption of GASB 75, and subject to any throughput math changes that Jesperson Solutions wishes to make in relation to comments that were provided to them earlier today regarding the health insurance rates, where there were some very minor deviations in their draft report. I make a motion that the board approves and ratifies the Jefferson Solutions Actuarial Valuation Report under GASB 75 as of January 1, 2018 for the years ending December 31, January 18, and December 31, 2019.
Second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried 4-0-1-1.
And I'd like to thank Charlie again for his work with the actuaries on this, and also for the, what I think is a fine job on those other two RFPs. Really, really good products. It took some sausage trying to get there.
That's why he gets the big bucks.
We have the best proofreader that I've ever known. Who also looks at
The best proofreader. Okay, so
Everybody has a role.
that's everything covered on the agenda, so now I'm gonna.
No.
One.
Got speedies.
Oh, the speedies.
What's that?
Okay, sorry.
Is it about the
Okay.
something about
Charlie.
No, that's not me.
posting?
That would need to be executive session. Can we do that? at
Remember,
this meeting?
you sat in my office and you told me to put that on there.
Who told you?
You.
I know. I was just trying to get away from it. Okay. All right.
If we're gonna do that, then we can.
You will, definitely, but Al is gonna have something, because I don't wanna detain these people once we go in executive session and come out, so Al's got a few words and suggestions.
Craig's gonna address it first.
Okay.
Chuck Shager was requesting a list from plant staff on our concerns / issues with the construction project. And I wanted to approach the board for approval to do that. And if we did produce a list, that we would submit it to the board first, and any of those concerns, issues would go through the board to Chuck.
That makes sense to me. And this is in follow-up to a discussion that Craig and Charlie had at the City Council work session on Monday. And, Chuck Shager, who's our fiscal officer and the city comptroller, was listening to Craig's remarks, and I think he spoke to you afterwards, however he got a hold of you, maybe by email.
Yeah, email.
And he asked for some more substantial information than the comments you could make in 5 minutes between the two of you.
I would speak to this. They're asking us again to provide a service for the city that they're paying millions of dollars to an engineering firm and a production production coordinator, and now they're wanting us to fill in again because there have been failures with that process. If we provide a list, that then becomes the accurate list, and if it's incomplete, we'll be held, well, why didn't you tell us about X, Y, and Z? it's not our job to monitor the construction of the project. I think we have to
Craig
respect.
forwarded the email to me and asked me what I thought. And the impression I got from Chuck Shager's email was that he's under the impression that somehow the plan for the board has a list, an existing list of all these concerns. And I'm not aware of such a list. If there is a list, I think Kathy would be the only one who would know about such a list. Maybe Michelle. But, you know, I pointed out to Craig that, you know, to put together such a list, it's not going to be that simple because you're talking about a project that's been ongoing for several years. And I suspect that Kathy, over the course of the past several years, has been bringing these concerns and issues to the attention of the engineers and project managers in several venues, one being the job meetings, and number two, probably face-to-face meetings with the city's project managers. And there have been 3 city project managers over the course of several years. So putting together a list is not going to be a simple matter, especially because, number one, Kathy isn't here, and that's significant. It may involve going through the job meeting minutes and trying to pull out all these different occasions. I don't know if Chuck is expecting that, but you know, I agree with Craig is that I would be hesitant to present a list that is substantially incomplete. If he's asking for a list, I think it should give him something that's complete or substantial, at least substantially complete. And maybe we may miss a few things, but I hate to miss a whole lot of things. And from what, and again, I've been here listening over the past several years as to Kathy's concerns and issues, and I know there have been quite a few over the past years regarding the project. But I'd be darned if I'll be able to recall what all those issues are. And I suspect if we went around the table, we might be able to pull together several significant issues, but I'm sure we'd miss out on a lot of them.
Yeah, well, actually, we're not supposed to be the clerk of the works. We're not supposed to be the punch list, but I do agree that a lot more eyes, and especially the people that work the plant, should be able to turn around, and I'm quite sure all these things were reported that we could start a list with, and then keep a list of what we reported and see if it's done. For instance, you got the front stairs out there that are not draining correctly. Now I see that the tops are also peeling off, and the cracking situation. You've got the valves that we talked about that were put in reverse, which is a great concern. We brought it up and it fell on deaf ears for a while, and then all of a sudden the ears opened up and found out. So I'm under the assurance that is going to be taken care of. You've got a gate valve that's turning around substantially leaking. That's something that you reported at the last meeting. All right, and then we've got the lab problem, and that when we can get it certified, how we're going to be able to do our services if they got to get in there and do their work, which I feel is the contractor's responsibility for doing the scheduling and all of that stuff. We shouldn't have to be doing this for them, but I do believe that more eyes, because there are punch lists. I'm sure there's lights. I'm sure there's electrical things that aren't working here. But I think the main one that brought everybody's attention at the meeting is when you talked about the valves.
And I think the issues that you brought up, George, are just within this year, 2019. I think all of these are just...
Well, except for the spalling of the stairwells, and
that's continuing to...
Right.
I mean, for example, installing the door locks in the building backwards so that you couldn't get out of the you keep going in a circle without getting out of the room.
I don't, this,
Yeah, I mean,
this is wrong. I mean, you're talking about recently, but if you go back to the beginning, and we were told point blank, told right in a meeting by the mayors that it was not our concern. We were told by the mayors that they had somebody who was running the show, and anything and everything was supposed to go through him. We're not supposed to keep lists. We're not even supposed to tell them of any problems. Why would they come to us at this point and say, what do you know?
I don't know that it's true that we're not supposed to tell them, but if we should tell the project representative, city employee,
Yeah, okay.
that's who this list should go, once, like Craig proposes to go to the board should submit it to him. And, what Chuck Shager's referring to, just for background, and his email, he's probably referring to the list like we're done with the prior project, that went on for several pages. We put them regularly as an appendix because we were required to do an annual report at the time. We put them regularly as an appendix in that report. And, I'm a ratepayer. Most of the people in this room might be ratepayers. So we have a vested interest in this being done right. And if it's not being done right because there aren't enough eyes from management, the project rep is part-time position. I understand the concern about we don't want to be doing somebody else's work, but
that's not it for me. And this project manager at the present time is very cooperative. But if you remember when we started, it wasn't so. And we were told that you're well aware of what we were told at that point. And in our concerns, I feel, I know as what you're saying, as we're a ratepayer, but my personal feeling is that basically our job is to look at the finished product and say, this doesn't work or it does work. We've been told in the past that we're not part of the construction. My own opinion.
Well, I guess the issue that has to be addressed is how does Craig respond to the request? Does he just tell them that we don't have a list?
We don't.
right, we can make up, Dan, you got your hand up, so go
If I could
ahead.
just make just as a point of process, a suggestion that if the flow of information to date has been from, the staff here to the project manager when there's been an issue, wouldn't it make sense to start by asking the project manager to furnish you guys with a list of what has been reported to him so far, so that you could then, instead of re-reporting every issue that he already knows about, then you can take a look at that and look for the stuff that's missing.
If you're looking for a historical list, it's going to go back way before this project manager. And whether or not, we don't know if there was anything passed on between each project manager as they left.
We don't even know if a project manager recorded
Right.
these concerns as they were relayed to him.
That would be a huge problem if they weren't at least recording these concerns.
And we don't know whether they were or they weren't.
It doesn't seem that they've been being passed to the owners, because when plant staff was drawn in by the owners on the Binghamton side, I don't believe you were aware of these. Apparently, you're not being informed.
Yeah,
And I don't want to be the center of the conversation. I just wanted to suggest that maybe if there is any sort of list that exists, it would exist with the project manager, and it might be a good first question to say, can we see the list that he's got so that we can add to it?
When did this project manager start?
July of 2018.
When did the project start? Approximately.
Back in 2015. As far as the actual construction, but the engineering was in 14 or before.
Yeah. Way before.
Thing is, I just don't want it to see how it felt the last time. And I'm a lot more confident watching how they're doing the concrete, the temperatures and the treatment and that stuff. because back before the wall fell down and all the cracks and the spider webbing and that stuff, and Kathy warned them. She even had written documentation on it where she sent them that she was scared that something has to be done with the wall, especially on the C cells, and how it was leaking in between the infrastructure and that stuff. And I believe the board at that time and all the plant people were told to mind their own business. They knew about it, and there's nothing to worry about. And I think I just became the chairman for the first time when the wall fell over. So this is something, but I've been keeping good track of it, checking the temperatures, making sure the tests were coming out all right, and that stuff. And the concern is I don't want to stop people from looking. I just believe that from now, that if we take the list that we have now and our concerns of what we know now and add on to the list and send it to Chuck or whoever, who wants this. Chuck Shager wants this list.
And I ought to go to Ron and have him say that Chuck Shager asked for this and he can provide it to Chuck.
Ron Lake?
Yeah.
Well, it's Ron, yeah.
And I think, I think Councilman Livingston's suggestion of asking Ron's office for their list and then, have that provided to Craig and Elliot, and then you can look at it and see if there's things on there that you already, feel should be on there and things that are missing that you want to add to it. I think that's probably a more efficient use of our personnel's time than starting from scratch. And if we find out by asking for it that there is one, then, we know where we're at.
All right, so in other words, I guess what Ed's saying is that you go back to Ron Lake or Jacobs or whatever, if they got a list of things that have to be done, and we'll review it, and if there's things missing that we know of, we'll add it on to the list.
We really shouldn't be going to Jacob.
No, we didn't.
I don't think.
Okay.
I think part of the issue why.
So you have Ron Lake do it, okay.
I think part of the issue why Craig was asked what he was asked is that there's people in the city that want to see from an oversight perspective is Jacob's missing things. And the only way they're going to know that is if somebody tells them, here's our list, and then, Jacobs hasn't identified it for the owners.
That makes sense.
Or it's just information that the owners aren't getting about
Exactly,
some of the
right.
issues here. And, it does affect the whole community, so,
I can ask Ron's assistant, I'm happy to go up to the fourth floor and do that.
Is he back now?
Not now, next week, maybe.
Maybe, okay, well, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I'll go to his assistant, because
I mean, these are just.
he's been here for all of us.
We identified are just glaring issues. And we have not received any information on how they're going to be resolved. And time keeps going on.
How's the training going? Are they giving him proper training? Right?
We've had some good training, real good training.
I mean, that's a measure there of where they are or what they're intended to think.
We've had some no-shows from some suppliers, but they'll just have to make up those classes. So.
But I want to thank Craig, you and your whole staff for compiling those 60-some questions and getting it off to them so that the RFP could turn around and have the information that they needed, which should have been done by the people that got paid to put everything together, and then we had to end up putting everything together for them. So I guess I'm not quite understanding this process.
Yeah, that should be in the minutes.
It's the card. It's the cards that were dealt. So that's where we're at. So I guess you got your directions of what what should be done now and go from there. And Ron Lake should be back next week and you know, deal directly with him.
So I will send Chuck an email, let him know that we will provide a list.
We'll provide a list of what we knew if Ron Lake doesn't have it on the list already, but we're waiting to get a list.
Okay.
Okay. That sounds good. So, that's it. So I don't know what else to say.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
You're gonna go in executive session then.
Do we? Okay.
Well, that's on the speedies permit.
What was that again? It's not about the speed.
It was about not meeting the deadline dates.
Okay.
Consent order, sorry.
Send over.
He said speedies and it was right, it's consent order, not speedies.
So, we need to go in executive session. You're the one that said.
It wouldn't hurt,
Okay, it wouldn't hurt.
especially after Monday night's festivities down in City Hall with the council.
Oh, okay.
So what's it gonna be?
It's on the consent
I
order.
make a motion to go in executive session to discuss pending administrative litigation to with the consent order.
Second.
Discussion, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, carried 4011.